Well, let's take a look at the franchise. Caleb Williams today. Here are the numbers. 19 of 35, 239 yards through the air, 21 yards rushing, 3 touchdown passes, was not intercepted. There were a bunch of tips out there that nearly were picks, but there were no picks. Third down, an impressive 7 for 13 and 1-for-1 perfect on fourth down. Up and down day. Had some great moments, had some really horrible moments. The talent was out there again, and the decision-making was wobbly. The sack was ugly, but responded like he has all season long. I don't know, how do you guys digest it?
Yeah, I mean, like, the first half was rough. I mean, let's call it what it is, and everybody chill out. Let's get through the whole game. But that, it's kind of funny. This guy has been a magician, called Houdini, with all these sacks that he's gotten away with or spun out of. And it just, I don't know how about you guys, but, like, haven't you sometimes felt like, which guy's going to finally get him?
Yeah.
Right? And then here's number 90, TJ Watt, in a huge moment. He gets paid too. He gets paid a lot of money because he's really, really good. And Caleb just couldn't quite get out of that one. And it was just a moment where, especially backed up, you got to know, like, you got to get the ball out, and you're probably not going to get away from TJ Watt because he's different than all these other guys. And it was a big moment, and you went down 14-7. But and there were plenty of other misses there, sometimes really frustrating misses that you just felt like he got away with. Probably 2 interceptions that got tipped up in the air too. But the third quarter, man, was great in all 3 phases, and Caleb was a big part of that. I've been asking for a third quarter like that for a while now, and especially that second drive to go up 10 made all the difference in the world. And so was Caleb perfect the rest of the way? No, but he was still pretty damn good, and certainly flipped the script compared to the first half, which I thought was pretty bad. And the defense stepped up, Caleb stepped up, enough people stepped up to get that win.
I've called him a few times, Caleb the conundrum, because that's what you run into with him at times is halfway through the third quarter, he had all these misfires, and you're sitting here like, man, this accuracy needs to get cleaned up. And then you're like, wait a minute, he's got 3 touchdown passes in this game, and to me, it's like, I just go back to, I understand it's not perfect with Caleb, and I understand he's still got a long way to go to be more consistent. But if you're going to have 3 touchdowns in a game, who am I as a Chicago Bears fan to complain about this? Right. I can't do it. I physically cannot do it. So I will acknowledge the mistakes. I will acknowledge the development that still needs to be taking place. But I am going to appreciate that we have a quarterback here that can make plays. And I thought in the second half, especially in that third quarter, he started to settle himself, get the ball out quicker. But ultimately, it's not going to be perfect. I think that's the goal, and maybe they'll get there one day. But all I know is 3 touchdown passes, good enough for me.
I think the one great thing is he always bounced back. So started out kind of ugly. Errant throws, the sack in the end zone where he took the safety that ended up being a touchdown. Wasn't getting the ball out quick, holding it too much, errant throws. But I think second half, the adjustments from Ben Johnson in that offense, really dialing it in, moving the football. And you got to appreciate when your quarterback doesn't play well, but he always finishes pretty strong. And I think that's the one good trait from Caleb Williams is that he's always finished games out. And winning 8 of their last 9, he's a big reason for that. Has it been perfect? Like I said, no. But when the game's on the line, when you need to sustain drives, put them in a position to win, he's been able to do that. So I think it's hats off to Ben Johnson, hats off to the coaching staff for getting the best out of their players in the second half and closing out these games.
Absolutely.
If you want to go glass half full, it's his 11th game with Ben Johnson. He's in his second year in the NFL. Every single game that you watch, his talent pops at some point, sometimes multiple times. So if you are the Chicago Bears or if you are anybody who just wants to make football predictions, betting against the emerging Caleb Williams seems silly. And at the same time, it's like, are you going to do one of the slightly bizarre things that you still do right now in the most inopportune moment at some point this year? But today, when it does happen, they show him on the sideline, and his internal messages to himself, he's able to move himself forward. That is a skill set right there. Because when you get spun around and dumped onto dumped in the end zone and stripped it as a touchdown, and you can go a different place. You could exit the building, in a not in a physical way, but in a I got to get the hell out of here. And he didn't do that, and he doesn't do that.
Look. There's been a ton of progress this season, and guys, they're what, fourth in the NFL in offense?
It said
some of this conversation is really stupid.
Right, they said they were number 1 in the NFL since they started 0-2, since week 3.
Since week 3, they're like number 1, and like they put up like 5 different categories. Of course, one was takeaways too, but this goes with like the 8-3 discussion. Are they good? Is Caleb Williams good?
That video is going to have a lot of legs this week.
You don't. Yes, you're good. You have to be. And when the Bears have the ball, you feel good about it. I mean, Steven asked us a question, like a hypothetical, when they were down 3. Would you, if I can guarantee you're only going to give up a field goal versus the risk of a touchdown, would you take it? And I'm like, yes, I'd give up the field goal and give Caleb the ball back. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because And that's not a feeling that we've had in Chicago with the quarterback a lot. So despite some of the accuracy issues, which can and probably will get better, we're not talking about and holding on to the ball sometimes. Is getting better. It literally is getting better. The pre-snap stuff has mostly disappeared. I probably would have said almost completely disappeared if not for that really bad delay game that I really needed an explanation on, because that was
a doozy,
super confusing. But compared to where that was back in August and even week 1 and week 2, he is getting better. I am not worried about, like, even in the first half moments where I'm screaming at the TV and being like, oh my God, you got to have that wide open throw. Exactly. It's not in the sense of, oh man, this guy just doesn't have it. Or I'm not even remotely worried about that. To your point about this being game 11 with Ben Johnson, it will get better. It's going to get better. And meanwhile, they keep winning while he continues to go through some of these things.
Well, I don't blame Bears fans for pointing these accuracy issues. He's throwing behind guys. Hey, Rome made a nice adjustment on the ball at one point and made the catch. It was way behind him. There was a couple others in that regard that were completions, but then all the bad incompletions are directly attributed to not leading your receiver. And you talk about how well he's played here so far and how you see the growth. There is a whole nother untapped potential there that you have to acknowledge. So yes, he has to start trying to consistently hit guys in stride. And now over the last couple games, since the Giants game where he just ran wild and won the game in the end with his legs, these last couple games, for whatever reason, teams are bottling him up. He's not getting as many rushing yards. So the old adage, we're going to make him win from the pocket. And so instead of him being able to make plays outside and do those things, now you're seeing, okay, this is where you got to win. And today they won. Last week they won. So that means while there isn't things that are perfect, he is winning from the pocket because the Bears won the game.
And I think the thing is, when you're looking at this, like, people would say he didn't play the best game as a whole. To be able to put up 3 touchdowns, to lead some game-winning or game-sustaining drives is huge. So it's a work in progress, like you said. But I think you got to feel good at, regardless of how bad he plays at any point in the game, that he's going to come back and lead you to victory. And I think that shows about his mental fortitude, that he never is weary about his confidence. I think that's key from a young quarterback, because we've all seen in this league, Sam Darnold, who's been awesome early on in his career, really struggled with that confidence after making some bad plays. Yep. So I think that shows the confidence in Caleb Williams.
Their big struggle early in the season as an offense was red zone. They were 4 for 4 today in the red zone. And so, yes, the one touchdown to DJ Moore was a broken play because of an offsides, which was a great play. 4 verts, hit DJ Moore in the seam. That's an easy pitch and catch. But the first 2 touchdown passes, if you want to talk about accuracy, if you want to talk about throwing on time and in structure and in rhythm, those were both dead nuts, money time throws. And those were perfectly placed in structure, on time, and that's all you can ask for in those moments. So, again, a lot to clean up, but those were big plays.
One to DJ, one to Colston. The DJ one was a little bit of a more challenging catch, but still a very, very good throw. The Colston one was right on the money. Ben is going to say, I would think, positive things about his quarterback today because there were so many positive things. But if you asked him with, in a private way, do you think he played well today? I bet he'd say, hey, he was not nearly as well as he could. We missed way too many shots. I mean, and I would think that Caleb would say the same thing. But and then another positive thing is that they're there. When they're not playing the elite defense of the world, Ben's scheme, guys are open. There's opportunities out there.
And think about when they could really get to that, like scratching that surface. Imagine what this offense can be, right? Because think about how many missed throws. He probably could have had potentially 5 touchdowns in a game like today, way over 300 yards. So they're getting better each week. But I think the thing is they just have to manage those lulls in the passing game. Running game was inconsistent a little bit at times. For the most part, they've been good with that. But if they can manage the passing game, I think they'll be good.